you guys. Okay, so basically, yesterday we talked about moles and mole particles conversions. Okay, so today I'm gonna go ahead and redo it. Okay, since I noticed that my I don't know, for some reason it didn't record my Zoom. So I'm gonna go ahead and redo the video. Okay. So in here, I'm hoping that I'm a little bit more organized on this one. But anyways, okay. So really, on the first day of school back, at least on the first day that we came back, we talked about what is mole. Okay. So I like this background information about mole particularly. Okay. And mole, we use it in chemistry to basically to it helps us really know how many particles are in a mole. Okay, so a mole, it's very similar to how we count things, like when we go out to the store or when we go buy, say, a box of donuts. We know in a box of donuts there's a dozen donuts, right? So a dozen means we know that it's 12 donuts. Okay, so it is convenient to count shoes by pairs. So shoes are in pairs, right? So that we know that one pair of shoes means that's the for both our feet. Smaller objects need larger units though, because particles alone is a huge number. We can't even see it. It's huge, 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 huge. It's a huge number because and we cannot see it, so we need to put them. We need to group them. Okay. So dozens are convenient for eggs and donuts. Sheets of paper are counted in reams of 500 each. Atoms and molecules are so small that we need huge numbers of them in a convenient size unit. So the unit for counting atoms is mole, okay? So the SI unit contains 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd atoms. That's a huge number, okay? That means it's 23 zeros after the 6. So it's a lot. Okay, so, and we actually call it 6.02 sextillion. So these are called atoms, or sometimes we call them molecules, or sometimes we call them formula units. So you will see it in different ways, but as long as you have this number, it really doesn't matter. You know that those are the tiny little atoms. Okay. Now this is the chemist dozen. Okay. This is, supposedly the chemist dozen. Okay. So although the mole, it could be used to count anything, it is such a large unit that is impractical for anything larger than atoms, molecules, or formula units. So now, I hope you have at least a background information, even not background information of what is mole. If not, go to day one on Monday to look at the lesson, the assignment that was given, and it will give you videos of what it is. Anyways, overall, one mole will equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Okay, and we'll go ahead and put atoms. But it's also called molecules. It's also called formula units. Okay, now in conversions itself, how do I make this into a conversion? There's two ways how you can, it's just really the same thing. Okay, but when you're doing conversions, there's some background information you need to know before you even start calculations. So right now we're not going to start calculations. This is just for your information. If you understand this, at least get a basic idea of the what you need to understand before you start doing any kind of calculations is that for conversion, now this, for conversions, you will either write it 1 mole divided or over 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. And just for simplicity, we'll put atoms. Okay, or it could be vice versa. So you're going to pick for one of those when you're doing conversions. Okay, so it could be 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms. It could be on the top. and then 1 mole is in the bottom. So this represents this or this in conversions. Okay? Again, don't worry about anything else. Just it could be either this or this. Okay? This is just like a division. Okay? This is your one of it has to be one of those conversions. Another background information you need to know is about gum. I love using gum because I don't know, it's just a lot more simpler as we get to stoichiometry and the more difficult stuff. The students have it more organized and they tend to understand it a lot more better. It's a strategy. Right now, you will tend to appreciate that strategy, okay? But you have to listen. You have to make sure you take notes, okay? Very, very important. Okay, so while we're doing problem solving, and again, we're not doing any calculations right now. All I'm doing is explaining what you need to know before you start doing calculations. Okay, so now what is gum? Gum, G-U, and then M-M. Okay, gum, the G means you're given. That means it's a number that they will give you. The U is the unknown. We don't know what are they asking for. This is the unknown. Okay? And what you need to know about your given, you always start first with this one. You always, this is numero uno, first is your given. Okay? And then the unknown is always last and, and on the top. It's always last and on the top. Okay, so again, this is just background information you need to know before we start calculations. And then MM is molar mass. Molar mass. And this is only even the calculations there is grams. Like for just mole and particle conversion, there's not going to be any grams. So I am going to explain this for the next day. Okay? So it will have the same meaning as very similar to what we're doing right now. Okay, but except on these word problems, since there's not going to be any grams, we're really not going to use it for today. Okay, but trust me, it's going to be so important. But once you understand given and unknown, and then how the setup goes in here, it will be awesome. Again, this is just background information. Okay, let me refresh you. 1 mole equals 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms, molecules, or formula units. So it's written different ways. Okay, this big number. This is the same thing. It's equal, is the same thing as this or this in conversions. So either you're going to convert it this way, 1 mole equals a 6 point or over 6.02 times 10 to the third, or it's going to be 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms over 1 mole. If you put this in the calculator, it will give you two different numbers. Okay, totally two different numbers. Okay, so, and that's why it's important you need to decide which one is a correct one. Okay, and it's so important based on who you're going to choose on how you set up your given and unknown. Okay, now let's work on the problem. Okay, so I want to work on the first one. Okay, how many atoms are in 4.00 moles of helium? Okay, so in here, we're going to start with gum, given and unknown. Okay, so it will be G, the U, and the M. Okay, the G is given, and given is this one right here. This is your given. Okay, so that would be 4.00 and then MOL, moles. Now we just take out the E, it's fine, it's just a shorter version of it. Okay, and of helium. Okay, and then your unknown is how many atoms. We want to know how many atoms. So in here, we're going to put atoms. Okay, we don't know the atoms. Okay, so that's very important. Okay, so now molar mass. Molar mass only if there is grams in the story. Is there grams in here? No, so you do not use it. And you're going to run into that a lot of times. Okay, you don't need grams. And actually, it's better. It's like, you don't want to do extra work. Okay, so now remember that given is first and unknown is what? Is last and on the top. Well, what do I mean by that? Okay, now there's two ways to write it. The first one I'm going to show you is with a T. T because you only have one, you're really going to convert it once. Okay, the first here, this first column is based on the given only. Okay, you only, and remember how I told you, oh, it's the first, so that's the first column. So that means right here, 4.00 moles, that's your first. Okay, and in here, we usually don't do anything. We really don't do anything. You do a 1 if you want. If you want, really, it doesn't matter. Okay, okay, so now on this, on the unknown, remember how I said last and on top? Well, your last column is this one. This is your last, and it's on the top. You're going to put atoms. Okay, so the atoms is going to be way here. Remember last and then top. Okay, so that goes here. So I mean by atoms. Okay, that's here. That is when you get to, remember how 1 equals 6.022 times 10 to the third? Well, what does this mean on conversions when we're doing these conversions? Either means 1 mole over 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms, either that, or it's 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms divided by 1 mole. So how do I know which one is going to go here? Because in the second column, you're going to either put this one or this one. Well, what helps you is the unknown. The unknown is the last one, and the top it says atoms. So guess what? This one says in the top, and you see how it's on the top, atoms? So that means this one goes here. So it will be 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms divided by 1 mole. Okay? Now, what does this line mean? This line right here, and you see this, you've seen this since elementary. This is division when they're on top of each other. When they're next to each other, it's multiplication. It's multiplication. Okay? Another way that students really like to see it, they actually prefer it. Okay, but I have to show you this both ways. Okay, is that they prefer to rewrite this like this. Okay, so instead of putting a T, they put 4.00 moles. Then it's times, and they put parentheses, which usually that's what you do in the calculator. You will put the parentheses, and it will be 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms over 1 mole equals. Now, in the calculator, you can use one from your phone. It doesn't matter, okay? Because I do have one from the phone, and it's pretty good. An app, or you could get the app from Chromebooks, or also from an Android, or there's several calculators, scientific calculators. Okay, so in here you just start with 4.00. You could just put the parentheses, and then it's 6.02. be your exponent, and the 23 divided by 1 mole. You see that? I don't really don't care about the answers, about the calculation too much. Really don't. Okay? Later. Right now, the most important part is the setup. Okay? You have to understand your given is first, your unknown is last column on the top. Okay? And then this 1 mole equals 6.02 represents a convergence either this way or that way. So you're going to go based on atoms, on unknown. Okay? In that on the top, so you will pick this one. That's the one that goes here. Okay. Also, another way you can check is that moles, they both have to be the same crisp. One from the top, one from the bottom, because that's when you actually you eliminate it and you convert it to grams. Okay. This one, this one, and this was the same thing. So of course you can cancel those out. Okay, why? Because in the end, your answer is going to be atoms, not moles. That's what the whole conversion. Okay, are converting mole to particle. It really depends. Okay, that's it, guys. Okay, that's only one example.